Hey everybody, Brad here again. In this video I'm going to explore if this car is any fun to drive. It does everything so well, as I always say. It's practical, it's efficient, it's green, which I love. But is it any fun to drive? Does it have any right to be any fun to drive? So if you're interested in that, stick around. So I find myself, ladies and gentlemen, at the beginning of a pretty fun stretch of road here. Got my GoPro stuck to the side. You guys are going to see me here, and I'm going to rip through some of these corners to see if this thing's any fun to drive in corners. Obviously I've got it in sport mode. I don't really need to, but I do. I've got full regen on. Hitting some brakes here pretty hard. Yeah, this thing will understeer, but it's actually very progressive, as you'd expect, and a little lift off, a lift throttle oversteer will happen if you really wanted to. If you've seen any of my winter videos, you know that happens, which is awesome. However, yeah, I'm not confident in jumping on the brakes like I would in my S2000, which I've obviously done some good upgrades there. No, it's no Ducati motorcycle with wicked Brembo brakes and braided lines and high temp fluid and all that stuff. But what about corners? You know, is it fun in corners? Is it fun to jump on the throttle and come ripping out of them? As you can tell by the motor revving away, it does pretty well. And I'm going to show that video. That's what you'll see, the video from the GoPro there as my B-roll. I might even make it my A-roll, simply because it's probably more exciting to look at than I am. But you know, as I say, this car does everything so damn well. It could be as floaty as a Cadillac or as boring to drive as a Toaster is to look at, but it isn't. And frankly, that's just icing on the cake, because this thing does everything so damn well. It's hard to fault it for the things that it doesn't. But even then, I'm having not a ton of fun. I'd give it a solid B- if I really were to grade it, but I like getting in this thing. It's so easy to drive, and then when you want to hoon on it a little bit, it responds pretty well. Certainly the throttle response is excellent in full-on sport mode, because it's electric, so it would be. No, the brakes aren't anything to write home about, but the chassis acquits itself pretty well. It's heavy, obviously. It's heavier than a comparable Accord, but the fact that there's that Honda Accord DNA in this car means that it's got a pretty solid chassis underneath it, if a little heavy these days, again, with everything that's included with this car. But if you have to have the weight, having it in the rear isn't that bad of a thing, because it's better than sticking it over the nose and making it even more of an understeering pig. So yeah, I frankly think this thing's a bit of a hoot to drive. And again, it puts a smile on my face, because I find it so funny, laughable in a good way, that it actually is. So yeah, it's now, you know, I will never say you can go out and trade it for a Miata and things like that and think you're doing the same thing. But not only is this car, again, hits all those boxes, it's fun to drive, and the fact that it is so damn cheap to own and so effectively guilt-free to own, that it frees you up to be impractical in other areas of your lives, which, if you're a fan of my YouTube channel, and if you are, certainly thank you from the bottom of my heart. You'll know that I do delve into the impracticality of, I have an S2000 which I've owned almost all its life, and I do have a motorcycle which I love to death. Yeah, they're impractical. Yes, they're indulgences, frankly, is what they are. But when I have a car like this, it makes that feel even less, guilt's the wrong word. I don't feel really that guilty, but owning a car like this, meaning that I'm doing the brunt of my commuting in fully electric mode, I'm doing my part, you know, for the efficiency and the 21st century and all that. You know, I believe in that stuff fully, but does that mean it's at odds with being a car enthusiast? And I believe I've just laid out a couple of reasons why no, it does not. You can say that you're a car enthusiast and still say that you drive a plug-in hybrid car, not only because that car is a hoot, and it's not even a Tesla. You know, again, it acquits itself so well, it's almost a zero compromise car, but it frees up some resources, cash flow, time, whatever else you want to say, to spend on some of those things that may or may not be practical. You know, I'm not carved of stone. I do enjoy art, and I do enjoy music, and I certainly enjoy driving all the fun cars that I've owned in my lifetime. I've had an MG, which I had for years, which is a great car. It was clapped out by the time I got it, but I learned how to work on cars, which is great. I had a 944. Again, nothing to write home about, but it was a beautifully handling car, and I had a ton of fun in that car. I love my S2000. I had a hoot in my Miata that I had. Autocrossed the hell out of that thing. So I've enjoyed all of those cars that burn gas. You'll notice in my history I erred on the side of smaller is better, just for efficiency and things like that. But this just takes it to the next level, so that again, most of what I'm in a car for, which is boring anyway, is done by my awesome car here that does everything so well. Again, you could have two gas-powered cars, one fun and one practical, but in my experience with my practical cars, as of late, they have cost me so much money in maintenance that I've often, even when I went to spend money on my Honda, my S2000, I felt guilty because, well, geez, the regular car, the minivan, or we had a Mercedes wagon, it cost me $5,000 one year. Like, it's just absurd. So you do that with your daily, and you can't justify it. But this thing, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I have 30,000 trouble-free and practically free miles. In the grand scheme of things. So why not? Why not spend an extra $1,000 on the motorbike when you probably shouldn't have, but you saved that in gas in 2 months. So there you go. So anyway, I'm rambling a bit here, folks. Really, the point of this video is I feel I don't need to give my car guy patch back to the secret society that will come and steal my tools and take my motorbike away from me because I've now decided to join the plug-in hybrid crew. Again, I think it frees up so much of that so you can indulge in some of that stuff, and a lot more guilt-free, in my opinion. And also, this damn thing is actually just fun to drive. In the winter, like I say, and get it crossed up and have a little bit of oversteering fun, which is frankly absurd. I laughed my face off the first time that did that. The fact that I can be at a light and put this thing in sport mode and blast away from 90% of the cars on the road, at least where I live, no, they're not the guys in their Challengers will beat me, of course, but if I'm quick to the draw, I can beat anyone across the intersection. And if I really want to hoon this thing through some corners, as long as I'm pretty good at some trail braking, it's not an understeering pig, and it actually corners pretty flat and pretty predictable. And if you pick your lines right, you can come out the other side going pretty fast. So anyway, folks, I appreciate if you've stuck with me for this long. I love this car. I think it's great. I don't need to say that anymore because I've said that ad nauseum in all my videos about this car. But if you've made it this far, again, I appreciate every watch second, every comment, every negative comment, all of those things. And I certainly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your subscriptions. If you are a subscriber, thank you for every like. And if you're interested, I would kindly ask that perhaps you do subscribe, because there'll be lots more of pedantry about this car in future, and so on. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of you. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I look forward to chatting with you soon. All the best.